We are ready for agenda item 12, presentation of the fiscal year 2018 proposed operating budget and capital improvements program. Welcome, Ms. Webster.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Mr. DeSpirito.
Thank you. I'll make an initial comment if that's all right, and then I'll turn it over to the expert, Stacy Webster. We're pleased to present the fiscal year 2018 proposed operating budget and capital improvements program. The proposed budget utilizes available resources in an effective and responsible manner and is consistent with the policy direction set forth by the Mayor and Council. This budget focuses on the health and safety of our residents, business owners, and employees, critical infrastructure improvements, and city programs and services. The total operating budget for all funds equals $129.4 million, an increase of 2.5% over last year's total operating budget. The general fund budget, which is balanced without the use of reserves, equals $79.2 million, an increase of 2.6% over the current FY 2017 budget. The property tax rates of 0.292 for real property and 0.805 for personal property remain the same for fiscal year 2018 as proposed. Several of the city's utility rates are set to increase, however, for FY 2018. Water and sewer rates will increase per the plan approved by the Mayor and Council in 2015. One important factor to remember with the sewer rate, however, is that nearly all the capital costs and a substantial portion of the operating costs support the city's share of operating and capital improvements at the Blue Plains wastewater treatment facility. These costs are based on the city's allocated capacity and are out of the city's control. The refuse and recycling charge is proposed to increase by 5%, and the stormwater management fee is proposed for no increase. Ms. Webster will go into more detail on all of the utility charges during her presentation that will very soon follow. Funding for several of the Mayor and Council's priority initiatives are included in this budget. Some of the major operating budget enhancements include 3 new police officers to increase public safety and to improve the health and well-being of our police force. New special events that promote diversity in our community. Additional fitness pool hours and senior center hours for the public. An extended summer camp season to satisfy user demands. And several improvements to our water and sewer systems. The fiscal year 2018 budget also focuses on new capital improvements in our community. Our CIP, Capital Improvement Plan, which is a 5-year capital investment plan, includes $19.9 million in new funding to help support our infrastructure. This new funding, combined with $47.2 million that is projected to carry over from the current fiscal year 2017, is estimated to fund 47 projects in fiscal year 2018. Of those 47 projects, 8 are newly funded. Stacy will address those projects during her presentation also. We are able to support the FY 2018 budget due to Rockville's stable revenue base and conservative financial management policies. Based on current data from the state of Maryland and Montgomery County, Rockville projects a total combined increase of $2.5 million in property tax and income tax revenues from what was adopted in the current budget, FY17. Although the city's financial outlook is positive, we, along with many other jurisdictions in the Washington, D.C. metro area, remain cautious about changes that might result from the new federal administration. We will continue to monitor the local environment and adjust for any factors that might impact the city's key resources like property tax, income tax, hotel tax, or capital grant funding. Development of the city budget is a complex and time-consuming endeavor. We hope this budget document offers you and the public the information needed to make the key decisions that will impact Rockville residents and the city government throughout the next year and into the future. We look forward to the budget work sessions and public hearings over the next 2 months and encourage you to ask questions and meet with us one-on-one as needed during this very important time of the year. And with your permission, I'd like to turn it to Stacy at this point.
Certainly. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to go through a brief presentation tonight that highlights all of the operating funds and a brief highlight of the CIP. I've printed it out for you. It should be on the dais. I also have it on the screen here. We'll go through highlights fund by fund, and then at the end we'll review the timeline for the budget. Starting with the general fund, just over 61% of the city's spending occurs in this tax-supported general fund. General fund revenues are estimated to increase by 3% from FY18. The main revenue categories that support the general fund are property tax and revenues from other governments. As Mr. DeSpirito said, the city's real and property tax rates will remain the same for 18. Our real taxable assessed value is estimated to increase by 3.5% to $13.2 billion, which is the city's highest in our history. This increase is a result of $433 million in new assessments from the January 2016 cycle that are being phased in, as well as from a full year equal to $25 million in new properties being added to the tax roll. As the Mayor and Council are aware, there were no new tax assessments performed in January 2017, and our next assessments will occur next year in January 2018. This budget continues to include the city supplement to the State of Maryland's Homeowners Tax Credit Program. The program will be implemented under the same parameters as our current fiscal year. Our general fund expenditure budget is estimated to increase by 2.6%. The major cost drivers in the general fund include personnel, operating, and our transfers to our capital projects fund, as well as our debt service fund. For personnel, overall general fund FTEs will increase by 3.5 positions. This is the net of moving 3 positions from the speed camera fund over to the general fund, adding 3 new officer positions, and eliminating 2.5 vacant positions from the city manager's office. For context, total general fund FTEs are approximately 1% lower than they were a decade ago. Moving on to our next governmental fund is the Special Activities Fund. This is a fund that accounts for revenues raised from fundraising, community activities, payment in lieu programs, general fund transfers, as well as from corporations and community service organizations. Most of the city's accounts are established by ordinance, resolution, or through the city's financial management policies. The Special Activities Fund makes up just over 1% of the total operating budget. It supports 13 operating programs as well as 8 capital project accounts. Next, our Community Development Block Grant Fund is a special revenue fund that helps the city provide rehab assistance to low and moderate income homeowners through the city's single-family rehab program. Fund expenditures must meet all federal CDBG requirements and criteria. The CDBG fund makes up less than 1% of the total operating budget and is managed by the Department of Community Planning and Development Services. The Speed Camera Fund, another special revenue fund, is used to account for the financial transaction associated with the city's Safe Speed program. The use of funds is restricted by legal and regulatory provisions. The Speed Camera Fund makes up just over 1% of the total operating budget and supports 1.5 positions. This is down 3 positions from the current fiscal year, those 3 positions that moved over to the general fund. The Speed Camera Fund also supports 2 capital projects, all with prior year funding, as well as the operating costs of the program. Starting in FY17 for the Speed Camera Fund, we transitioned from a per citation contract to a fixed fee contract. We will continue to monitor the status of the Speed Camera Fund under this new arrangement to ensure that the revenues from the citations are sufficient to cover the operating costs of the program without the need for a taxpayer subsidy. The final governmental fund is the Debt Service Fund. This makes up 3.9% of the total operating budget and supports the principal and interest payments on all taxpayer-supported debt. The city is currently planning to issue new debt in the amount of $3.5 million in FY18, and that's for the swim center indoor locker rooms. Including the proposed FY18 issue, we are currently in compliance with all of our debt ratios, which is shown on page 290 of your proposed budget document. Moving on to the enterprise funds, first we have the Water Fund. This fund is used to account for all the financial activity associated with the treatment and distribution of water within the city. The city provides water service to approximately 70% of Rockville, or 13,000 accounts. The Water Fund makes up 10.2% of the total operating budget and supports 36.6 regular FTEs, all operating costs of the program, and 9 capital projects. Most customers will experience an increase of 3.5% in their water usage charge from FY17 to FY18. In addition to the usage charge, we will also continue with our Ready to Serve charge, which is estimated to increase by 5% for FY18. And as the Mayor and Council are aware, the Ready to Serve charge is based on the size of the water meter. The sewer fund is next, and the sewer fund accounts for the financial activity associated with the collection and delivery of sewage for treatment and disposal. Charges are based on water consumption. The sewer fund makes up 10.5% of the total operating budget and supports 18.6 regular FTEs, all operating costs of the program, and 3 capital projects. As with water, the city provides sewer service to 70% of the city, or those same 13,000 accounts. These properties will pay $9.26 per 1,000 gallons of water usage, which is an increase of 12.5% over FY17. Just like the water fund, the 18 budget continues with the fixed Ready to Serve charge, which is estimated to increase by 15% from FY17 to FY18 for the sewer fund. The Mayor and Council approved the FY18 water and sewer rates in January of 2015. FY18 is actually the 3rd year of the 3-year rate ordinance that the Mayor and Council approved. Next, we have the refuse fund. This accounts for the financial activity associated with the collection and disposal of residential recycling, refuse, and yard waste. The refuse fund makes up 5.5% of the total operating budget, supports 33.2 regular FTEs and all operating costs of the program. During FY17, the city's recyclable materials hauler discontinued operations, and consequently the city started to self-haul recyclable materials. This, combined with the loss of revenue from the sale of recyclables, has caused some financial stress on the fund. Due to this, the FY18 rate will increase by approximately 5% to $445 per residential property per year. And again, this is due to increased operating costs of the program, uncertainty surrounding the sorting and hauling of the recyclables, as well as the decline in the sale of recyclables. Next is the parking fund. The parking fund accounts for the revenue and expenses from parking-related activities, including the issuing of parking tickets, the parking meter program, and the debt service associated with the 3 parking garages in Town Square. The parking fund makes up 1.9% of the total operating budget, supports 4 regular FTEs and the operating costs of the program. The FY18 budget for the parking fund continues with the leasing of the parking garages operations to FRIT. Under the city's current lease agreement, FRIT is responsible for setting the rate in the garages and for all capital improvements and renovations during the term of the lease. A special district tax levy partially funds the parking fund. This tax levy will remain the same at 33 cents per $100 of assessed value for FY18. All commercial properties within the immediate town square boundaries pay this tax in addition to the regular city property tax. Next, the Stormwater Management Fund. This accounts for the financial activity associated with maintaining existing stormwater management facilities, as well as construction of new facilities. All residential and commercial properties in the city will pay $127.70 per equivalent residential unit, or ERU, and this is the same rate as FY17. The Stormwater Management Fund makes up 4.2% of the total operating budget. It supports 21 positions and 6 capital projects. Based on a recent MOU with Montgomery County, the city will receive approximately $300,000 related in stormwater management fees due from the county for FY16 and FY17. The forecast for this fund is conservative, as does not assume this as an ongoing revenue from Montgomery County. However, as the Mayor and Council are aware, Ms. Moran, back in the corner, is actively working with the City of Gaithersburg as well as MML to help us maintain this revenue source into the future. Last but not least, we have the RedGate Golf Course Fund. This is used to account for the financial activity associated with the city's public golf course. This fund makes up less than 1% of the total operating budget and supports the debt service payments and depreciation on past property improvements. The city currently has a 10-year lease agreement with Billy Casper Golf, which began in January of 2012. And under this lease agreement, the city will receive $12,000 in course rental revenue, no reimbursement for debt service, and likely no performance revenues for FY18. Staff recommends that keeping the RedGate Golf Course Fund as a separate fund until the debt is retired in 2023. So lastly, I have a slide that summarizes our capital improvements program, or CIP, budget for FY18. As Mr. DeSpirito mentioned, the 18 CIP includes new funding of $19.9 million, along with carryover funding of $47.2 million, to fund a total of 47 projects in 18. There are 8 newly funded projects, which are listed here on the slide. The first project, the Lincoln Park Community Center parking lot expansion, includes $100,000 for the design of a parking lot on a parcel that's adjacent to the Lincoln Park Community Center. Additional parking is needed due to the limited number of spaces that are currently near the center. I believe the current number of spaces is around 20. The next project, Potomac Woods Community Center, includes $75,000 for a feasibility study and community outreach to determine the type and size of a potential future facility. Solid cost estimates will not be known until the feasibility study and initial community outreach are complete. The Senior Center ADA improvements funds major improvements to the Rockville Senior Center's restrooms, classrooms, offices, dining rooms, and front foyer. These improvements include ADA compliance as identified in the citywide ADA assessment, facility modernization, and repurposing of rooms to meet current and future needs and capacity. The traffic signal communication system funds a new system to replace the existing obsolete system. The new system will provide supervisory control and data acquisition of the city's traffic signals for integrated and safe traffic operations as well as maintenance. Stream restoration for Anderson Park funds the design and construction of stream restoration within the park. This stream has significant sources of sediment and highly eroded stream banks that are endangering the city's sanitary sewer infrastructure as well as private property in the area. The water treatment plant concrete roof repairs funds design and construction of much needed repairs. Deficiencies were discovered during the air scour project and a structural assessment was completed in January of 2016. The assessment recommends that these concrete repairs be completed by FY2019. The water treatment plant electrical systems upgrade funds design and construction. The system that we currently have has components that date back to 1958 and are at or near the end of their useful life. Electrical system components and associated control systems will be replaced, rehabbed, and relocated to improve the system's reliability, safety, and capacity. And last, we have INET security enhancements. This will fund integrated network security improvements to mitigate, remediate, and reinforce the city's information security. The last slide I have for you tonight shows the upcoming budget calendar. As you are aware, we have a budget work session scheduled for later this week that will focus on the operating budget, and a budget work session that is scheduled for April 3rd that will focus on the CIP budget. In order to promote productive budget work sessions, we ask that if you have any specific questions prepared, if you could provide this to us, we will try to give you complete and accurate answers on or before the work sessions. As you can imagine, there's a great deal of information, and we want to make sure that you have everything you need so we are able to make these productive work sessions as we work throughout the process. That concludes my presentation. I thank you tonight. Very excited to present this budget to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DeSpirito, did you have something you wanted to add, or?
Well, I want to thank all of the employees that were involved in helping to develop the budget. A lot of work went into it, including quite a bit before I got here. It was a great opportunity for me to learn about the organization. The timing was perfect in the sense that literally days following my arrival, I got to sit down and with every single department and every division get a great conversation going on what they do, how they spend the money, what are the plans, how do things differ, and so forth from what's new and different from last year. And I am very, very impressed. I just didn't want this opportunity to pass without saying how impressed with the employees that presented their information to me, and that was at many different levels of the organization. Also extremely impressed with the finance and the work that they've done, Stacy and Gavin in particular, with the rest of their staff as well. And we have really tried to bring it together as a team to present a reasonable budget that's balanced, one that tries to address the important initiatives and goals that the council and the mayor have set for the administration, that also bring forth some ideas and some recommendations from the administration on some things beyond that that we feel should be addressed, including some of the public safety component. And I appreciated the earlier conversation we had about police staffing, the mayor and council's willingness to pay a great deal of attention to that particular concern. It's probably the most prominent aspect of what's new and different with this budget we have before you. And I've spent a lot of time, of the small amount of time I've been here, I have spent a proportionate amount of time with trying to understand that issue. And so I just mentioned it publicly that I had great input from the officers, from the command structure at the police department, and also former employees, residents, and of course all of you, mayor and council members, who care a great deal about that subject and have been able to improve my understanding of what public safety is in this community and what the goals should be. So we are very, very, as Stacy said, very excited about the opportunity to hear what you think, and then ultimately what the public thinks with the public hearing with respect to this proposal, and that we hope that it comes close to meeting your goals and objectives. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and thank you to your staff. I look forward to the conversations and the deliberations going forward. Anybody have any comments or questions tonight? Councilmember Plakovich-Carr.
Just a brief comment. I do want to commend our city manager for getting this budget done in less than 2 months since you started. I think that's pretty notable, but I can attest to the hard work that you've done since you've come here. But I do also want to recognize the others on the staff who were instrumental in getting it to that point and helping you along even before you started. Mr. Simoneau and Mr. Cohen and Ms. Webster and others in the finance and budget divisions for their work. So thank you.
Anybody else have anything for this evening? Councilmember Prashela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I will be forwarding some questions. I have one question, but first I will proceed by one comment. And Ms. Webster stated that the full-time equivalent employee count for the general fund is about 1% less than about a decade ago. And I just want to note that that's in spite of considerable city growth. It's in spite of mayor and council actually mandating some things. For example, new police officers, this won't be the first time, a new environment division, and some other initiatives. So the reason I mention that is that the growth of our city staff has not kept up with the growth of the city. And I think that just needs to be said again and again, that throughout our budgets for many years, the city staff and city managers have found efficiencies as they've gone along, and I'm encouraged that that is continuing. I do have one stormwater management question. And I have already read much of the budget book, and I was focusing on stormwater management, which is on page 6 of our handout. And I noted in the text for the Stormwater Management Fund, it says that we give credits to private properties that maintain stormwater management facilities on their property. And what I'm wondering is, we have a couple of associations too that I know of that maintain stormwater management facilities, and that they're at least in part treating city water from other parts of the city. And I'm wondering if, I don't think we're giving them credits, and I'm wondering if that's a fairness issue to those associations. And I didn't want to actually ask you to respond to that tonight, because I think that takes some research. But the two ones that I know of are Newmark Commons, their lake, and the other one is Falls Mead with their private park. But they are treating not only some of their own stormwater, but certainly water from other parts of the city. And should they be getting a credit or not?
We'll be happy to look into that and report back to everybody. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions tonight? Okay, and just for the record, we'll be meeting again on Thursday for the budget work session with everybody back here in the chambers at 7 o'clock. I got the time right this time. All right, thank you very much.